Sa pagsusuring ito, a huge, warm welcome to all our grade 7 learners. If you're studying music and arts in the Matatag curriculum, you already know that creating the art is really only half the journey, right? Today, in this talakayan, we're going to master an absolutely vital skill for literally any artist, and that is peer assessment and constructive feedback. I am so excited to guide you through this. Because, learning how to thoughtfully look at a classmate's creative work doesn't just help them out. It actually dramatically improves your own artistic eye, too. It's a total win-win.
Let's be real for a sec. Have you ever worked super hard on a drawing, maybe a musical performance or a big group presentation, only for someone to take one look at it and just say, "Nah, I don't like it," or "It's okay"? It is so frustrating, isn't it? And honestly, it's incredibly confusing. Bad feedback just leaves you stuck. It doesn't tell you what you actually did right, and it certainly doesn't give you a single clue on how to get better. Well, today, we're going to learn exactly how to completely eliminate that kind of unhelpful commentary from our classrooms.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with number 1, the true purpose. Then, 2, assessment versus feedback. 3, criteria and evidence. 4, the 6 assessment steps. 5, delivering constructive feedback. And finally, 6, final check and recap.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, the true purpose. We need to do a quick reset on why we actually review a classmate's work in the first place.
So, there's this really common misconception out there that when you review a classmate's art or their performance, you're basically acting like a judge on a reality show, trying to decide who's the best and who's the worst. Let's just go ahead and completely clear that up right now. Peer assessment is absolutely not a ranking contest, and it is definitely not a personal comparison. We are not judging our classmates' personalities here. The whole point, the true goal, is 100% about learning and revision. I want you to think of yourself as a helpful coach rather than a strict judge. Your job is simply to help the artist make better creative decisions based on standards you've all agreed on, which ultimately leads to a much stronger final output.
Moving right along to Section 2, assessment versus feedback. We hear these two words used interchangeably all the time, but they are actually very different things.
And this brilliantly illustrates that difference. Assessment, which is what you see defined on the left, is the overarching process. It's that structured, criteria-based journey you take when you're carefully observing the work and making your evaluations. Now, on the right, feedback is the actual result of that process. It's the specific, respectful, and actionable response. Literally, the words and suggestions that you hand back to the creator. If you skip that structured assessment process, your feedback is just going to be random opinions. And without clear feedback at the end, well, the whole assessment process is basically useless to the artist.
That brings us to Section 3, criteria and evidence. This is honestly the most important pairing of concepts you're going to learn today. This is exactly how we separate our own personal tastes from objective, fair observation. Criteria are the agreed-upon standards of the task. Think of the criteria as your map or your rubric. It tells you exactly what the artwork or performance is actually supposed to achieve. Evidence, on the flip side, is what you can actually observe with your own senses to prove if those criteria were met. It's a specific sound you heard, a particular movement you saw, or a really distinct image in the artwork. If you throw out a comment without anchoring it to the criteria and backing it up with hard evidence, your judgment is just unfair. It becomes way too biased by what you personally just happen to like or dislike.
All right, Section 4, the 6 assessment steps. This is the highly practical part, where we look at how to actually pull this off in a real music and arts classroom when a peer stands up to present.
Okay, here is your step-by-step guide. Step 1, review the purpose and criteria before the presentation even starts. You have to know what you're looking for. Step 2, observe the whole work. Please, don't make snap judgments after 5 seconds of a Philippine folk dance. Watch the entire sequence. Step 3, record specific observable evidence while you watch. Step 4, identify at least one clear strength based on that rubric. Step 5, suggest one practical, actionable improvement. And finally, Step 6, allow the creator to respond. A really good review process is a back-and-forth dialogue, not just a one-way lecture.
So, the absolutely crucial point to remember here is this. Gather facts before forming opinions. If you noticed, the first 3 steps of our process were entirely about understanding the rubric and just observing reality. If you jump straight into giving your opinion without gathering those observable facts first, you completely lose your fairness and credibility as a reviewer. Doing the careful groundwork at the beginning is exactly what makes the end result actually helpful for your classmate. Let's transition over to Section 5, delivering constructive feedback. We've done our assessment, we've gathered our solid evidence, so how do we craft the actual words we're going to say to our classmate?
Imagine a group just finished a beautiful short cultural performance inspired by Southeast Asian traditions, and a peer reviewer simply drops this quote. It was boring. Ouch, right? This is a terribly unhelpful example of feedback. Why? Because it relies 100% on personal taste. It doesn't point to any criteria, it offers absolutely zero observable evidence, and it leaves the creator with no clue on what to actually fix. It's basically a dead end.
Now, let's contrast that with this brilliant taglish alternative. Hindi malinaw ang transition sa isang bahagi. Subukan namang ayusin ang sequence ayon sa rubric. Do you notice the incredible difference there? This comment points to a very specific issue, the transition. It gives a practical, actionable suggestion, which is fixing the sequence. And most importantly, it anchors the whole thing directly back to the rubric. It's honest, it's respectful, and it is just immensely helpful.
If you want to get this right every single time, you can just use this ultimate formula for a good response. First, start with the strength statement. Tell the creator what specific element works well and, crucially, why it works based on your evidence. Then, follow it up with an actionable suggestion. Give them a realistic, achievable direction for their revision. See, you aren't just blindly praising them, and you aren't just complaining. You're identifying a strong foundation, and then you're handing them the exact next building block.
We always have to remember to keep things balanced. Sometimes, we just want to be overly nice to avoid making anyone uncomfortable, so we default to saying, "Oh, everything was perfect." But empty praise is totally useless. It gives the artist no next step to grow. And on the other extreme, harsh, insulting criticism just attacks the person, not the artwork. A truly caring creator, a real artist, provides a balanced, objective review. You show respect by taking their work seriously enough to actually help them improve it.
We are in the home stretch now, folks. Section 6, final check and recap. Just a quick filter to run your thoughts through before you hand over that written feedback or open your mouth to speak.
Now, what's really interesting about this checklist is that it acts as your personal safety net. Before you speak, just ask yourself these 5 quick questions. 1. Is my comment directly linked to the rubric? 2. Do I have observable evidence? 3. Is my focus respectfully on the work itself and not the person? 4. Did I identify both strengths and needs? And finally, 5. Did I give specific guidance for their next revision? If you can answer yes to all 5 of those, you are about to deliver some incredibly powerful feedback.
To wrap things up, I want to leave you with this final, rather provocative thought to chew on. We spend so much time thinking about how feedback helps the receiver, right? But ask yourself, how does carefully guiding a peer's revision actually develop your own competency in Philippine and Southeast Asian arts? Think about it for a second. Every single time you meticulously analyze someone else's work against a rubric, every time you search for observable evidence in a cultural performance, you are actively training your own artistic eye. You're learning firsthand what works, what doesn't, and exactly why. By helping others elevate their art, you are quite literally becoming a better, more insightful artist yourself. Thank you so much for joining me in this pag-aaral, and I absolutely cannot wait to see the incredible, supportive art communities you're going to build in your classrooms.